Afternoon chaps, it's Monday afternoon and I'm in the peavey and it's not good. I'll show you. Right, here we are. First of all, it's extremely tight and solid state. Although there's discrete components on it, you can't even change an output socket or an input socket without removing the whole lot. They're actually soldered in. Not really designed for easy repair. But the worst thing about it is this. The two output capacitors, two big amplifier capacitors, are very bulged. Right? They're both bulged. I mean, that one's not so bad, but that one is quite bulged there. And I think that I'm going to pass up on this repair and let them hand it over to somebody with more electronic experience, because the onboard fuses haven't blown, the sockets seem okay. To start looking for a dry joint on this would be just a nightmare, so I'm going to box it back up and bounce it back and say it may even be beyond economical repair. I don't know what it would cost to repair something like this nowadays with labour costs, but there you go. Okay, sad, but it's true. Never mind. Right, back to me again. So the next job is going to be, we'll have a look at that power washer and see if that goes. Catch you in a bit. Hello people. You catch me in a different place at a different time. I persevered with the PV amplifier and it paid off. I started to think about it, went home, downloaded the instruction manual and realised that there was various little problems that could arise, because when I got the full story of this amplifier it had worked perfectly before it went into storage, and since it was removed from storage and used again, nothing worked. And so I persevered, and with a lot of switch cleaner, this is the result. One, two, three, and it's all working, all the effects work, and everything. So I'm really pleased. And if any of you have one of these PVXR 684s and it goes off a channel, down here there's a little mode switch, and if that mode switch gets corrosion in it, it can go off a channel. So I sprayed that with switch cleaner, operated the switch lots of times, and hey presto, it started coming back to life. And the more switches and sliders I cleaned, the better it worked. And it's now 100% working, so I'm very pleased. It just shows that persistence pays off. Okay chaps, you may realise by now that you see me in a red shirt or a green shirt, and that may make you think that they're the only clothes I ever wear. Let me tell you, nothing could be closer to the truth. Thank you all. I'll catch you later on the next section. Hello again chaps. Same day, different shirt. It's still Wednesday, but I'm now back at the workshop. I've been and bought some reasonably cheap petrol, and I'm just going to give you a quick 5 minutes over what I've been doing since Monday. And that's, I'm back on the old welder again. Now, as you can see, I've got the fan motor bolted in place. And I've got it wired up, and I've put the gas valve back on here and reconnected the pipe. I took that off because it was a bit in the way. I'm working on a little connection there which is on the rectifier bank, which I noticed was a bit blackened and had obviously been arcing, and it's aluminium, so it needs a good scrub and a clean up, and then probably a star washer on it to give it a good connection. But other than that, I think we're just about there on this. We're almost at the point where it's time to take our heart in our hands and put a cable on it and plug it in, or at least put a cable on it and give it a thorough testing first with the Mega to make sure there's nothing down to earth. But I have tested all the individual transformers and components, and it seems to be good. I mean, it's virtually the equivalent welder to the one that I'm using. Just walk around here, put the light on. The welder I'm using is the MaxArc MiG 200, which has the same wire feed motor in it, the same type of speed control, it's a big rheostat, and very similar internal setup. But I don't need two. So my idea was just to get this one working and then just to knock it out to somebody. Let somebody come and buy it for cheaps, and then it's out my way. But it's difficult to know what to do with these things. Do you scrap it, or do you give somebody else a chance of giving it a coat of paint and turn it into a decent welder? And I figure it's a good heavy-duty machine, and it's got nothing electronic in it whatsoever, so it's virtually will last forever. So I'm going to give it a chance at a second life. Still coughing, as you can tell. So there you go. I'll carry on working on this, and when I've done a bit more and I know a bit more, I'll bring you back. Who knows what shirt I'll be wearing. That room I was in this morning is the band's practice room. I got the amplifier finished, put it on the bench here, spent over an hour playing with all the different effects, the echo and the sustain and the repeat and everything, and it all works. Phone call. That was the lady about the local Driffield Menning Sheds project, which I'm sort of involved on the periphery of as well. Right, what were we saying? So, we've got this welder, and we're going to give it a chance of working and see what it does. And if it doesn't work, I'll just put it in one of the local auctions and somebody else can have a go at it. But I can't see any reason why it won't, so I'll continue, and when there's any breakthroughs, I'll let you know. I've also had another project arrive back. Project Hater Mower, which is my old mower, which I've welded the frame up for my cousin, and he cuts half a field with it and loves it, but it's gone odd. It's either a carburettor fault or it's making a chuffing noise down the exhaust, so it could be the exhaust valve burnt out, because it did get full of grass and overheated. So it could be burnt out exhaust valve, or it could be just a hole in the exhaust and the carburettor is full of muck. So that's up and coming. I had a look at the pressure wash. I can find no fault with it. It's got no earth faults on it. Everything appears to be fine, and there's a switch on there, on that side, to control it. Switched it on, switched it off, everything seems to be fine, it megas out okay, so all I've got to do with that is put a 13 amp plug on it and give it a test. It should be okay because it's a 2 horsepower motor, which is about 9.2 amps full load, so it should be fine on a 13 amp plug. The only thing is I haven't got a hose pipe to fit it. I need to rig a hose pipe up. What I really need to do is over here I've got the start up there, if you can see it, up there I've got the start of my water main, which is going round the wiring box straight to the front of the building and down into that corner, so that I've got a hot water line, a cold water line to there, which runs off the pumped supply, right? So it's pumped well water that would go straight through the power washers. It's filtered, so it should be fine. So that's another job I have to complete in the workshop, and it will get completed, should I live long enough. Right, I'll cut you off here we'll leave this bit and I'll bring you back when there's something more interesting to show you. Bye for now, chaps. Hello chaps, it's Thursday just after lunch and I've put the welder to one side. I've got quite a bit done on it. I've got the cable finished and all the wiring finished and it's ready for an electrical test. But what I want to do is find a switch fuse which I can put between the welder and the main three-phase socket, because all my electrical system now being a modern one, it's only protected by circuit breakers. It's not protected by fuses, and just in case there's a big fault on something, which I don't think there is, I've tested it as thoroughly as I can and it seems to be clear, but just in case there's a big fault, I want to put some fuses between the welder and the mains. So I'm going to put a switch fuse temporarily in the mains lead and then test it, but that's going to be for another day, because what I want to do today is to get this knocked off, see if I want for any parts for it, because it may have a burnt out exhaust valve, I'm not sure, it may have a blown head gasket, that's by the by, but it's been overheated. Basically what happened is the oil filler came out and it ran short of oil. Now it hasn't seized, it's got good compression, right, and it runs, but it won't rev. It ticks over beautifully, but when you open the throttle it just chokes, and it's also making a faffing noise out of the exhaust, so I'm suspicious that the exhaust valve might have burnt out. But anyway, I'm going to do the carburetor first because it's easiest, and then I'm going to do the cylinder head off and have a look at the exhaust valve. So I'll get stuck into this and I'll bring you back when there's something new to report. Right chaps, well, I stripped the carburetor, cleaned it out, rebuilt it, didn't find anything wrong, put it back together just the same, but I found the problem. I've gone into the engine and I hope you can see this. You see here the exhaust valve seat has come loose, right, and that's what these do when they overheat. The exhaust valve seat comes loose, moves out, right. So what I'm going to do now is to take the valve out and clean up the exhaust valve seat and tap it back in with a bit of Loctite on it and hope that that does it. But other than that, she seems fine. We've got no seize marks, so we've got a good bore. Just hope the big end's alright. Right. I will bring you back when there's any more news. Well, there we go chaps, I've got it buttoned up again, got the head back on, got the what would you call it, the tappet cover back on. I had to grind a little bit off the exhaust valve just to set the gap correctly, because that's what you have to do with these engines, but it came right straight away, so it wasn't too difficult. Sounds bloody awful, but that's the way you do it, grind a little bit off the end of the valve stem. And it was the exhaust, and you don't want an exhaust valve running tight, so I shall complete this on the morrow, which is Friday. So, catch you all later. Well, there she is chaps, she's all back together. I'm just going to lower her onto the ground and see if she'll start. Go. Right, let's just tilt you down a bit so you can see the beast. Right, a few pumps of the diddly-do. job done. It's Friday lunchtime, and that's done, and my cousin can get it back now and go and cut his grass. So there you go. Right, if there's anything else happens exciting this afternoon, I'll bring you back. Right chaps, we've locked up, or we've sorted out, we've tidied up. All the workshop is back to more or less spick and span again. It's just after Friday lunchtime, probably about 2 o'clock I think, and I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to deliver this mower and then call it a day because I have to go shopping. Never mind. So once again I have to get washed and changed and put on my clean mask and become the masked shopper. So like, subscribe, enjoy, please comment. Comment especially if you'd like me to go into more depth with some of the jobs I do. I didn't go into great detail with the lawnmower because I figured that there are hundreds and hundreds of Briggs and Stratton experts out there who make their living from repairing small engines. So I figured that if you really want in-depth knowledge, you would go to their sites and not mine. But it's not difficult, it's not rocket science, it really isn't. You know, they're little sods when they won't start, but there's always a reason for it. You put that reason right and off they go. They're very reliable engines. Same with the amplifier really. It's difficult to film stuff like that in detail and to get over how it's done. I think fault finding is largely, there's a great deal of intuition involved in fault finding, and that amplifier was acting like the signal was trying to get through. Every now and again, if I could get a high level signal into the microphone, like a sudden tap, it would burst into life and then drop again. And I thought, well, this is not an amplifier fault, this is actually a signal path fault. And when I downloaded the manual contained a block diagram, and it was the details in the block diagram which showed a signal path which gave me the clue to where the amplifier, one side of the amplifier would go dead if the signal wasn't getting through there. And sure enough it wasn't. Right? It was only later that I got the story that the amplifier had actually been working perfectly and been put into storage, and when it was got out of storage again it more or less didn't work at all. Anyway, that's another fix. But people always look, when they see electronics or when they see complexity, people always tend to look for a complex problem. And very often, and I get caught out by this all the time, very often it can be a very simple problem and it can be put right very simply and therefore very cheaply. So it's always worth having a go and having a tinker with, of course, proper PPE and safety, health and safety, and turning the power off, etc, etc. It's always worth having a look at something just to see if you can fix it. I'd written that amplifier off, and then I went home, downloaded the manual, had another think about it, and the answer became obvious, and sure enough that's what it was. The same with that welder over there. There's a problem with the wire feed mechanism. There is a broken component on it which I looked at and thought this is going to be a really difficult repair. And I looked at it, pulled it to pieces, looked at it in several ways and thought, what shall I do with this welder? Shall I carry on and finish it, or shall I scrap it, or just part it out or whatever? And it all depends on what the electrical test shows. I'm going to put it on a live electrical test and see if it works. And basically if it works, I can fix it, because I went to bed that night and I woke up the next morning with a simple fix which will be able to improve the whole welder and will also enable me to fit a Euro torch to it, because Euro torches are so cheap now. I think a 250 amp Euro torch is about 70 or 80 quid for the whole conversion kit, right? And it was so much benefit from with a better torch on it. It's probably the equal of lots of modern welders, and it's 250 amp at 80% duty cycle, so it's not a torch, it's a heavy duty machine. you know, and to somebody it's going to be good. Right, that's it. I'll see you all next week. Like, subscribe, comment, talk to me. But please, you know, stay safe, enjoy yourselves, have a good week. Bye for now.